In a recently held Google I/O conference, Google released several initiatives to its AI capabilities. One of them was its improvements in the text-to-image generation model called Imagen 3. Today, we are going to look at how this model compares with the rest of the existing models already available in the market. Today, we will compare Imagen 3 with Dall-E 3, Sora, and Leonardo AI. Hi, this is Ashish here. Welcome back to my channel, Coders Academy. In today's video, we will evaluate these models on the basis of following parameters: composition, object relationship, contextual understanding, and photorealism. So without wasting any time, let's jump straight into the demo. So before I take you to the output of all these models, let us first understand our prompt. So the prompt that I have taken here is create a photorealistic scene showing a young Indian woman in a traditional sari standing on the bustling streets of Mumbai during monsoon. She is holding a red umbrella and handing a book to a little boy in a yellow raincoat. In the background, there are colorful street vendors, a historic colonial building, and people using smartphones. The wet pavement reflects neon lights, and a stray dog is sheltering under a food truck. The mood is lively and authentic, capturing the diversity and energy of the city. So if you look at the prompt is pretty complex in terms of the description of the overall scene. There are three subjects involved here: a woman, a boy, and a dog. Look at the actions. The woman is handing over the book to the boy who is there in a yellow raincoat. The dog is sitting under a food cart. There is monsoon season. A lot of street lights are there with neon lights reflecting on the pavement. The mood is lively, authentic. Some people are using the smartphones. So if you look at the composition of this particular scene, it is pretty complex. The diversity is complex and the actions are multiple in this particular scene. At the end, we also want to make sure that the image that the model gives us is photorealistic and we should be able to relate to the picture in our day-to-day lives. So once we have understood this particular scene, let's jump directly to the outputs. Alright, time to reveal the magic. So we are first going to take a look at the Gemini model and see how did it perform. So here is the same prompt. I'm not going to go over it again. We'll directly take a look at the outputs. So if you look, first and foremost, it gives you only a single output image. But the image does capture all the elements that we described in the scene. For example, the woman in traditional Indian attire, a sari, a red umbrella, a boy, there's a yellow coat, the woman is handing over the book to the boy, there are people on the streets that are using smartphones, a colonial building in the background, reflection of lights on the pavements, a monsoon season, a dog sitting under a food cart. So I think all in all, the image does capture all the elements that we had mentioned in the prompt. Overall, a good job done by the Imagen model from Google. Let's take a look at the output from Dall-E. So with the same prompt, this is the output that I got from the model for the image. So it does capture the elements well. So there is a woman with a red umbrella and wearing a sari. She is handing over a book to the boy in yellow raincoat. There is a dog under a food cart. There is a historical scene, like a historical building in the background, which is the CST in Mumbai, which is a landmark. So that is very well depicted in the picture. Everybody in the background is on their mobile phones, smartphones. There's a monsoon season and you can see the reflection of the lights on the pavements. So overall, I think very well captured even in this case. So for your reference, if you take a look at this and this, the only difference that I noticed here is everybody in the background, many of the people rather, are having umbrellas, which is a small difference that I noticed. But I think both these images are doing great justice to the prompt that I gave. Right, now the time to look at the Sora model. So with the same prompt, you can take a look at the prompt, read it and pause it and read it, and you can see the output. First and foremost, it gives you 4 options for the same scene. Now that is something which I definitely like in the Sora model, because now I get multiple options to play around and use these images in the different context I wish to. Secondly, let's take a look at the other elements. So there are 3 subjects that we had told. Each of those images capture that. The dog should be under the food cart, which is there in the first 3 images, but in the fourth image he is not under the food cart. People in the background should be having mobile phones. Yes, it is there. There's a red umbrella, a yellow coat, a yellow raincoat, and handing over of the book. So all those things are captured. A historical building in the background. So almost all the images capture the CST, which is the landmark of Mumbai, and it's a monsoon season. The pavement should have the reflection of the lights, the neon lights, which is there in most of the cases, but in some cases it's not very pronounced. Like for example, if you look at this fourth image, the neon lights are not well reflected on the pavement, but in the third and the first, I think those reflections are captured to some degree. So I think so far Sora has given us a very good output, and along with 4 options, which is definitely a plus. Alright, after looking at Imagen, Dall-E and Sora, now it's the time to take a look at Leonardo AI. So for the same prompt, here again I get an option of 4 images. So let's take a look at those images. Here is the first one. So it's clearly not a photorealistic image. It looks more like something which is a drawing or a painting, or somebody has created like a cartoon like image. The 3 elements that we talked about, they are very well captured here, but the dog is not under a food cart. Moreover, it should be a rainy season. People in the background should be having smartphones, which is not the case in this image. It is capturing the monsoon season, but the streets are not resembling that of Mumbai. I don't see any historic building in the background, so which is again a kind of a minus that I see in this particular model. Let's take a look at the other options. This is more like a front view. Again, 3 elements are there, but the dog is not placed right. No historical building in the background. People are not on their smartphones. There is a monsoon scene, and there is a reflection of neon lights on the pavement. So yeah, to some degree, even this picture does not capture the essence of the prompt. Yeah, even this particular model, okay, here the dog is placed well. People are not using smartphones. In fact, no one is using a smartphone. So there is a clear miss there. The historical building is missing here. There's a reflection of lights on the pavement, yellow jacket, yellow raincoat I mean, a sari and a red umbrella. Yeah, that is fine. And I think this is the 4th image that Leonardo has given us. Again, it suffers from the same problems that we have spoken here, though there is a historical building in the background, but I'm not sure about this building location, whether it is in Mumbai, but it does capture the historical aspect that we gave it, but there is nobody on the smartphone, which is a miss. The dog is not placed right. That's another miss. To make things interesting, I got another tool to play. Now this is called as Ideogram. So here again you get 4 options. Let's see this. Though it was originally not planned to be a part of this particular video, I thought that I should share the findings from this particular tool as well. So for the same prompt, it has given you 4 options, which is again a plus, but the problem here is images are very different. So for some reason Mumbai and this image, there's a person who's taking a picture. Again, this is not to be meant to be there in the output, because the prompt was not of that nature. The 3 elements are there: sari, red umbrella, yellow raincoat, dog under a food cart, and people using smartphones is fine, but this is a bit off mark according to me. I don't see any historical buildings in the background, and it's a monsoon scene, so that is good. The second option, yeah, I think to some degree there is some historical building in the background. The sari, red umbrella, yellow raincoat. A dog is not really sitting under the food cart, he's standing there, but people in the background are using smartphones. There's a small reflection of light here. So here I think this is better than the first image, but the photorealism part of the parameter is not very well in this particular image. In fact, that is a problem with all the images that I got from Ideogram. Let's take a look at the third image. This particular image really stood out because I don't know how do you look at it, but it looks more like a person is angry at the boy while handing over the book. So this is something which is very different from the other images that we got from the other AI tools. There is nobody on the smartphone, at least not visible directly in the image. No historical building in the background. The dog is under the cart. Yeah, and there is some amount of reflection of light on the pavement. There's a monsoon scene. Okay. Finally, let's take a look at this scene. This is far more appealing compared to the previous. The woman, the lady in the subject picture is looking very pleasant, and she is handing over the book to the boy, and the dog is standing but not under the cart, near the cart. I cannot see anybody using a smartphone in the background. Though it's a monsoon scene, there's some amount of neon light reflection on the pavement. Yeah, and there's no historical building in the background either. Okay, yeah. So I think overall, if you look at it, these are the 4 or 5 tools that I evaluated to make sure that the output of each of these are comparable to each other. In my opinion, I think Imagen 3 model has done a good job. A close second I would give it to Sora, but the other 3 models have done an okay kind of a job. Dall-E is close third, followed by Leonardo and Ideogram. Final result. So if you look at the comparison, these 4 models I have evaluated on the basis of the 4 parameters. I think Imagen 3 and Dall-E are extremely well in terms of converting text to images. So we have well composition of the images irrespective of the complexity of the scene. The object relationship is well mapped. There is a contextual understanding of the scene, overall scene, and the images that you get as an output are extremely realistic. I think the next one that we should be targeting for is the Sora model. If somebody wants to make use of that, I think that should be a next choice after Dall-E and Imagen 3. Leonardo AI, I think it was not able to do all the jobs very well. It is okay for simple scenes, but if the scene is extremely complicated in terms of composition, relationships, actions, and contextual understanding, I think it gives you 4 options, but many of those options are neither realistic nor the compositions are well maintained along with the object relationships. So if I were to choose any of these models for my next project, it would clearly be either Dall-E or Imagen 3. But if you need more options, where you want 4 or 5 options among the outputs, I think Sora is another good option that you can try for. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you liked my video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and let me know in the comments what is the next video you would like to see. Thank you.